Good evening. Chair calls to order Legislative Session Day 25-020. I'd ask you to please stand for the pledge, followed by the opening prayer by Councilwoman Bull-Saddles. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity to serve the people of Harford County. As we begin this session, we ask for your wisdom and guidance. Help us to lead with integrity, to listen with compassion, and to work together for the common good. We pray for the well-being of every resident in our county, those seen and unseen, heard and unheard. May our decisions reflect a commitment to justice, opportunity, and peace for all. Bless our county, our state, and our nation. Keep us ever mindful of the responsibilities we carry and the people we serve. Amen.
Amen. Council, may I have general consent to skip to agenda item number 5 and return to 4 thereafter?
So be it.
Agenda number 5, consideration of petitions, applications, appointments, and nominations. Executive appointments, Commission for Women. May I have a motion, please?
Council President, I move to approve the appointment of Allison McCord as Chair of the Commission for Women.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. It's been moved and second to approve the appointment of Ms. McCord to the Commission for Women. Is there any discussion? Ms. Imhoff.
So as a member of the Women's Commission for 5 to 6 years, I was honestly a little surprised by this appointment. Allison has been a tremendous citizen of our county. However, she's only been on the commission for less than 3 months. She hasn't been long enough to be on any subcommittees. She hasn't been appointed to any leadership roles. And I know full well that there were people who did apply who had been able to do both and been on the commission for several years. So I also have a struggle at this point because on the county's website, even though we were waiting for confirmation from the council tonight, in disregard of County Charter Section 223-3, which requires appointment from the council, the county website already lists her as the chair. So I do have some struggle with this. However, for the betterment of the Women's Commission, I will vote to ensure that they have leadership tonight.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Mr. Bennett?
I just think in speaking with Ms. Imhoff about this issue, it's a good reminder that all these commissions that we vote upon are so meaningful to the people who engage in the work. And it can become easy to just say, you know, oh, let's just put so-and-so down, I know them. But to the people who are in the work every day, where the commission they're on might be the main way they engage in our civic society, it's important to really take into mind what's best for that commission and support that commission. And so I really appreciate Allison and helping humanize this vote for me and thinking about the people who serve on that commission.
Thank you. Mr. Riley?
Yes, I know Allison McCord very well. And as you look at some of her resumes, just to let you know, she was board president, vice president of the Board of Elections. Also, she has a Bachelor of Arts, English major from Loyola. She's been on the Citizens Police Academy, the Maryland Association of Elected Officials, the Talent Development, Chesapeake Women's Professional Network. I've probably known her for over 25 years. This is an excellent choice, and I would hope everybody would affirm. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. And I, too, will comment on the fact that this past election cycle, I had the opportunity to work close with Ms. McCord through the process and afterwards, going through some challenging times. I thought she did an outstanding job, but Ms. Imhoff does bring up a very strong point and something that we need to be considering and think about. So, anyone else? Ms. Dixon?
Mr. President,
Aye.
Mrs. Robert,
Aye.
Mrs. Imhoff,
Aye.
Mr. Giangiordano,
Aye.
Mr. Riley,
Aye.
Mrs. Bull-Saddle,
Aye.
Mr. Bennett,
Aye.
There being 7 votes in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, the appointment is hereby approved. Harford Living Treasurer, may I have a motion, please?
Council President, I move to approve the appointment of George Haggett to be named as Harford Living Treasurer.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. Been moved and seconded to approve the appointment of Mr. Haga as a Harford Living Treasurer. Is there any discussion? Ms. Imhoff?
So, I was delighted to know that the first living treasurer of my term on the council is actually from my district. I was able to research Mr. Haga's life work, and the dedication to the community and the citizens here are so appreciated, especially your time in law enforcement, and I just wanted to thank you for your time and your dedication to the community.
Thank you, Ms. Imhoff. Is there anyone else? Ms. Dixon?
Mr. President,
Aye.
Mrs. Robert,
Aye.
Mrs. Imhoff.
Aye.
Mr. Giangiordano.
Aye.
Mr. Riley.
Aye.
Mrs. Boyle Sottles.
Aye.
Mr. Bennett.
Aye.
There being 7 votes in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, the appointment is hereby approved. Agenda number 4, presentation of proclamations, Harford Living Treasurer. Ms. Imhoff, you want to step down? Mr. Haga, if you'd like to come forward and bring whoever you like with you, please. Stand up.
Whereas George V. Haga received the Harford County Cultural Arts Board recommendation to the Harford County Council for recognition as a Harford Living Treasurer in acknowledgement of this lifelong commitment to public service, civic responsibility, and community engagement. And whereas Mr. Haga began his law enforcement career with Bel Air Police Department in November 1969, faithfully serving during a critical and often turbulent period in Harford County's history, including the 1970 H. Rap Brown explosion. During his tenure, he made significant contributions to drug enforcement efforts, resulting in numerous arrests and convictions, became the department's first radar officer, and was honored as Police Officer of the Year in 1973. And whereas following his law enforcement career, Mr. Haga dedicated 15 years as a claims investigator for the Harford Insurance Company and devoted many years to the volunteering as an emergency medical technician. He was also instrumental in the founding of the Bel Air chapter of the Fraternal Order of Police. And whereas in retirement, Mr. Haga remains actively devoted to serving the community through his role as a funeral service associate with the McComas Funeral Home, as a Bible study leader, and as an active member of the church security team at Upper Crossroads Baptist Church. Therefore, we, the County Council of Harford County, Maryland, on this 10th day of June, 2025, do hereby proclaim George V. Haga a Harford Living Treasurer, and be it further known that his lifetime experience and contributions to the Harford County community will provide a permanent record which will recall the past, inform the present, and guide the future of Harford County, and its memories and history will be recorded by Harford County Public Library oral historian and will become part of the oral history collection of the library.
Well, I would just like to say, first of all, thank Todd Holden. He's the one that instigated this whole thing. And speaking of Todd Holden, I talked to him before I came in this evening. He is really having some health issues. He wanted to be here tonight, but he could not on account of his health problems. And I'd just like everyone to remember him in prayer tonight. He told me he was scheduled for surgery Thursday, so remember him. And also, it's been a pleasure serving Harford County and Bel Air over the years. I really didn't make a speech to come up here tonight, but I'd like to thank everyone that came tonight to support me. I got family here, I got friends, I got people from my church, people from McComas, where I work part-time, and I'd like to thank them for being here tonight. It shows support. One other thing I'd like to say, in Psalms chapter 90, it says, we are guaranteed days and years. I don't know exactly the way it's worded in the Bible, but it gives us 70 years. And if by health and strength, you might say, they give you 80 years. Well, God has blessed me with 85 years. So I would like to thank God for that, for the health He's given me over the years, that I have been able to do what I've been able to do, and all the honor and glory goes to Him. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Haggard. Is there anyone of Mr. Haggard's friends and family that would like to come up and say a few words? All right, we won't embarrass them. Congratulations, sir. Thank you so much for everything you've done.
Hang on.
Oh, we have to get pictures. Sorry. They're very specific. Yes, hold on, sorry, scooch over this way. There you go. More.
All right, thank you, sir. Also, Bel Air Moose Family Center, number 1952's Public Safety Recognition. Mr. Riley, if you'd like to step down. Trooper?
Whereas the Bel Air Moose Family Center, number 1952, is a family fraternity and international organization of men and women dedicated to caring for the young and old, bringing communities closer together and celebrating life. And whereas as part of the community program, the Moose Lodge is sponsoring its Public Safety Recognition Night to thank and commend local public safety officials and to honor exemplary law enforcement officers representing each of Harford County's law enforcement agencies. And whereas Trooper First Class Paul Proctor has been selected by the Bel Air Moose Family Center, number 1952, as Public Safety Recognition Night awardee representing the Maryland State Police Bel Air Barrack for his outstanding dedication and service to the town of Bel Air and the Harford community. Now, therefore, we, the County Council of Harford County, Maryland, on this 10th day of June, 2025, do hereby salute Trooper First Class Paul Proctor, Maryland State Police, Bel Air Moose Family Center, number 1952, Public Safety Recognition Night awardee, and express our appreciation for his dedication and commitment to protecting the lives of Harford County citizens.
Thank you for reading that, Tony. I had the privilege, along with several of us, we went over to the Moose. What the Moose does once a year is they bring law enforcement from all over the state of Maryland. They bring them in and they give them a proclamation, an award for something heroic they did during their term of service. I don't know exactly what heroic you did to receive this award, but every day you're out there on the streets and you're a hero to all of us. So we thank you. It says Paul here, but he told me his nickname's Tony. It must be a law enforcement day. We see George, thank you for your service. I'm a retired police officer, and Paul, I know what you go through every day. Also, they wanted me, this is not for you, this is actually, they give these out so that if you come across a young kid in an accident or something, that can comfort the kid while that's going on. So on behalf of the Moose, the Harford County Council, and all the folks here, we appreciate what you do, sir. Stay safe. I'd like to congratulate you.
I know you were in Jersey, right? You were in Jersey?
Yeah, might as well be, right?
You went to a wedding in Jersey.
And Paul, our photographer's in training. She's another picture here.
Good Lord. Agenda item number 6, special presentations. We have none. 7, approval of minutes, public hearings, June 3rd, 2025, legislative day 25-019, June 3rd, 2025. Are there any corrections to the minutes? There being no corrections, the minutes stand approved. Council, may I have general consent to skip to agenda items 10 through 12 and return to agenda item 8 thereafter?
So be.
Thank you. Mr. Giangiordano, please read amendments 18 through 42 to Bill 25-005 into the record for introduction, please.
Okay, let me warm up here. Amendments 18-42 to Bill 25-005, Annual Budget Appropriate Ordinance, introduced by Council Vincenti at the request of the County Executive. Amendment 18, on page 7, in line 9, strike $51,605,000 and substitute $50,565,000. Amendment 19, on page 7, in line 23, strike $817,605,000 and substitute $816,565,000. Amendment 20 on page 15 in line 11, strike $817,605,000 and substitute $816,565,000. Amendment 21 on page 46 in line 21, strike $817,605,000. On page 46 in line 21, strike, in parentheses, $817,605,000 and substitute, in parentheses, $816,565,000. Amendment 22 on page 46 in line 22, strike $6,688,440 and substitute $7,728,440. Amendment 23 on page 46 in line 23, strike $40,880,250 and substitute $40,828,250. Amendment 24 on page 35 in line 13, strike $95,707,500 and substitute $90,707,500. Amendment 25 on page 35 in line 21, strike $161,379,360 and substitute $156,379,360. Amendment 26 on page 37 in line 18, strike $161,379,360 and substitute $156,379,360. Amendment 27 on page 59 in line 17, strike $95,707,500 and substitute $90,707,500. Amendment 28 on page 59 in line 23, strike $161,379,360 and substitute $156,379,360. Amendment 29 on page 59 in line 24, strike $161,379,360 and the parentheses, okay. In line 24, strike, in parentheses, $161,379,360 and substitute, in parentheses, $156,379,360. Amendment 30 on page 26 in line 23, strike $104,401,000 and substitute $101,201,000. Amendment 31 on page 27 in line 19, strike $104,401,000 and substitute $101,201,000. Amendment 32 on page 43 in line 6, strike $15,400,000 and substitute $13,800,000. Amendment 33 on page 43 in line 17, strike $15,400,000 and substitute $13,800,000. Amendment 34 on page 44 in line 17, strike in line 7, strike $15,673,783 and substitute $14,073,783. Amendment 35 on page 44 in line 22, strike $15,673,783 and substitute $14,073,783. Amendment 36 on page 53 in line 12, strike $72,550,000 and substitute $69,350,000. Amendment 37 on page 53 in line 13, strike, in parentheses, $104,401,000 and substitute, in parentheses, $101,201,000. Amendment 28 on page 62, Amendment 38 on page 62 in line 9, strike $27,067,338 and substitute $23,867,338. Amendment 39 on page 62 in line 14, strike $34,429,933 and substitute $31,229,933. Amendment 40 on page 62 in line 15, strike in parentheses $34,429,933 and substitute in parentheses $31,229,933. Amendment 41 on page 29 in line 15, strike $1,039,641,000 and substitute $1,035,401,000. Amendment 42 on page 45 in line 17, strike $260,987,729 and substitute $252,787,729.
Thank you, Mr. Giangiordano. 10, introduction and consideration of amendments. Budget amendments to Bill 25-005, annual budget appropriations ordinance amendments 18 to 42. Due to the deadline to pass Bill 25-005, these amendments are going to be considered this evening. We're going to look at them in voting blocks. Voting block 1, may I have a motion, please?
Council President, I move to approve amendments 18 to 23.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Salas. It's been moved and seconded to approve voting block 1. Is there any discussion?
Mr. President,
Mr. Bennett?
I just wanted to make sure for anyone who's trying to keep up with all the numbers and things that we just went over, these amendments are really what we would call balancing amendments. So it's just taking everything we've done in the past few months and making sure all the numbers that those things impacted are correct. So nothing that we're voting on right now changes what the budget is going to do compared to what you've heard in the past few weeks. It's just correcting all the numbers from the other amendments and how they change things.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Mr. Giangiordano?
Thank you, Council President. I just want to also make sure that everybody knows these numbers were verified by the county auditor, Crystal Brooks, and she's verified them to be correct.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Dixon?
Mr. President,
Aye.
Mrs. Robert,
Aye.
Mrs. Imhoff,
Aye.
Mr. Giangiordano.
Aye.
Mr. Riley.
Aye.
Mrs. Bolsato.
Aye.
Mr. Bennett.
Aye.
There being 7 votes in the affirmative, 0 in negative, amendments 18 to 23 to Bill 25-005 are hereby approved. Voting block 2, may I have a motion, please?
Council President, I move to approve amendments 24 through 29.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. It's been moved and seconded to approve voting block 2. Is there any discussion? Ms. Dixon?
Mr. President,
Aye.
Mrs. Robert,
Aye.
Mrs. Imhoff.
Aye.
Mr. Giangiordano.
Aye.
Mr. Riley.
Aye.
Mrs. Bolsato.
Aye.
Mr. Bennett.
Aye.
Being 7 votes in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, amendments 24 through 29 to Bill 25-005 are hereby approved. Voting block 3, may I have a motion?
Council President, I move to approve amendments 30 to 40.
And may I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. It's been moved and seconded to approve voting block 3, and that is amendments 30 through 40. Is there any discussion? Ms. Dixon?
Mr. President,
Aye.
Mrs. Robert,
Aye.
Mrs. Imhoff.
Aye.
Mr. Giangiordano.
Aye.
Mr. Riley.
Aye.
Mrs. Bolsato.
Aye.
Mr. Bennett.
Aye.
Being 7 votes in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, amendments 30 to 40 to Bill 25-005 are hereby approved. Voting block 4, may I have a motion?
Council President, I move to approve amendments 41 through 42.
May I have a second? Mr. Riley. It's been moved and seconded to approve voting block 4. That's amendment 41 and 42. Is there any discussion? Ms. Dixon?
Mr. President,
Aye.
Mrs. Robert,
Aye.
Mrs. Imhoff.
Aye.
Mr. Giangiordano.
Aye.
Mr. Riley.
Aye.
Mrs. Bolsato.
Aye.
Mr. Bennett.
Aye.
Being 7 votes in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, amendments 41 and 42 to Bill 25-005 are hereby approved. Mr. Giangiordano, please read amendments 1 through 13 to Bill 25-007 into the record for introduction.
Amendments 1 to 13 to Bill CPI bond authorization, introduced by Council President Vincenti at the request of the County Executive. Amendment 1 on the title page, strike beginning with 1 in the third line of the paragraph down through, in parentheses, $126,158,200 in the fifth line of the title paragraph, and substitute $121,158,200 in parentheses, $121,158,200. Amendment number 2 on page 4, strike beginning with 1 in line 5 down through, in parentheses, $126,158,200 in line 6, and substitute, in parentheses, $121,158,200. Amendment number 3 on page 5, strike beginning with 1 in line 4 down through, in parentheses, $126,158,200 in line 5, and substitute, in parentheses, $121,158,200. Amendment 4 on page 6, in the sixth line of the chart, strike site acquisition $10 million and substitute site acquisition $5 million. Amendment 5 on page 8, in the 11th line of the chart, strike total $126,158,200 and substitute total $121,158,200. On page 8, strike beginning with 1 in line 3 down through, in parentheses, $126,158,200 and substitute, in parentheses, $121,158,200. Amendment 7 on page 15, strike beginning with 1 in line 12 down through, in parentheses, $126,158,200 in line 13, and substitute, in parentheses, $121,158,200. Amendment 8 on page 15, strike beginning with 6 in line 19 down through, in parentheses, $6,307,910 in line 20, and substitute, in parentheses, $6,057,910. Amendment 9 on page 16, strike beginning with 1 in line 1 down through, in parentheses, $126,158,200 in line 2, and substitute, in parentheses, $121,158,200. Amendment 10 on page 41 in line 32, strike but not in excess of $126,158,200 and substitute but not in excess of $121,158,200. Amendment 11 on page 44, strike beginning with 1 in line 7 down through, in parentheses, $126,158,200 in line 9, and substitute, in parentheses, $121,158,200. Amendment 12 on page 46, strike beginning with 1 in line 2 down through, in parentheses, $126,158,200 in line 3, and substitute, in parentheses, $121,158,200. Amendment 13 on page 46 in line 7, strike $126,158,200 and substitute $121,158,200.
Thank you. Amendments to Bill 25007, CPI bond authorization, amendments 1 through 13 will be voted on this evening. May I have a motion, please?
Council President, I move to approve amendments 1 through 13 to Bill 25-007.
May I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve amendments 1 through 13 to Bill 25007. Is there any discussion? Ms. Dixon?
Mr. Jan Giordano had his hand raised.
I'm sorry.
That's a lot of reading. And the parentheses, you forgot to tell me in the beginning. We're good.
Ms. Dixon?
Mr. President?
Aye.
Mrs. Robert?
Aye.
Mrs. Imhoff?
Aye.
Mr. Jan Giordano?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Bulsato?
Aye.
Mr. Bennett?
Aye.
Being 7 votes in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, amendments 1 through 13 to Bill 25007 are hereby approved. Mr. Jan Giordano, please read memorandum of change to number 1 to resolution 00925 into the record for introduction, please.
This memorandum of change will revise the project expenditure schedule to provide $2,760,000 for equipment in each of fiscal year 2027, fiscal year 2028, fiscal year 2029, fiscal year 2030, fiscal year 2031, for a total expenditure of $17,896,000. The project funding schedule is revised to provide pay-go funding in the amount of $2,760,000 in each of fiscal year 2027, fiscal year 2028, fiscal year 2029, fiscal year 2030, and fiscal year 2031, for total funding of $17,896,000.
Mr. Sanos, Mr. Lloyd, do you want to come forward? You just want to give some clarity to
Yeah,
this?
sure. Evening, council. So this memorandum of change is the result of collaborative and productive discussions with the sheriff's office, as well as the vendor and the procurement department regarding this specific capital project and the equipment that it would be able to purchase. So we worked out a 5-year plan that meets the sheriff's office needs, and so that's what's being reflected in the out years. This doesn't affect the next year's budget, FY26, but it does increase the out year funding starting in FY27.
And can you just elaborate on the equipment?
Yeah, so this is a new sort of combined capital project for the sheriff's office. So it includes their body-worn cameras, their in-car cameras, their tasers, and then their drone software platform. There's also some drone equipment in the contract as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this will bundle all of it together. I know there was questions as to some things being, out of warranty or out of useful life. So now every taser will be, fully covered under this replacement cycle and will be, I guess, fully compliant. So for every law enforcement deputy, as well as every correctional officer deputy, as well as the cameras, and there's also they're providing some drones as well, and the software for all of the drones.
Thank you. Mr. Giangiordano?
So I just want to thank you, county executive, council president, and everybody for working on this to make sure that this did get approved. And it looks like, we've got a nice contract for the next couple of years with drones, with cameras, with tasers, and with helmets. So I do really appreciate you guys working with this and helping. One of the things that we saw in the budget hearing meetings, and we were able to address that. So thank you guys very much, and the county executive. So I do appreciate that.
Anyone else? Seeing no one else, thank you, guys. May I have a motion, please?
Council President, I move to approve the memorandum of change to number 1 to resolution 009-25.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. It's been moved and seconded to approve memorandum of change 1 to resolution 00925. Is there any more discussion? Ms. Dixon?
Mr. President,
Aye.
Mrs. Robert,
Aye.
Mrs. Imhoff,
Aye.
Mr. Giangiordano,
Aye.
Mr. Riley,
Aye.
Mrs. Bolsato,
Aye.
Mr. Bennett,
Aye.
There being 7 votes in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, memorandum of change number 1 to resolution 00925 is hereby approved. 11, call for final reading of bills. Bill 25005, annual budget appropriations ordinance as amended. May I have a motion?
Council President, I move to approve Bill 25-005 as amended.
May I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Imhoff, thank you. It's been moved and a second to approve Bill 25005 as amended. Is there any discussion? Mr. Bennett?
Hello. It's good to be with everyone this evening. Last week I spoke pretty publicly about my frustrations over the lack of answers I received, the lack of response that I received, and in the way that things were not construed in a way that was truthful out into the community to kind of manipulate what's going on before us. Last Tuesday, I did get a chance to meet with Mr. Ben Lloyd and also with the liaison to the council from the administration. And there was a few big things I asked for them to help me answer. The biggest of which was, I want to make sure that we got a runway to land the plane when it comes to revenues versus expenditures in the next few years. They said that they would get back to me on that. I did get an email 6 days and 19 hours later, this afternoon. In that email, there was no information, no numbers to display how do we get revenues and expenditures to line up in our future out years. Another piece of concern that we spoke about and I was told that they would get back to me about is vacant positions, helping me figure out why certain positions have been vacant for as long as they have. Again, that was not answered in their email. I'm really concerned that we are preparing a budget without knowing what it means in future years. And budgets are not something that we can live through moment to moment. When you do that, you end up in situations like FY22, where, you know, we way overspent on fund balance and cut property taxes, and then we're told 12 months later what a horrible idea that was. And I think to be able to vote in confidence on this budget, first off, it would be really great to have continuous communication where we don't have to sit in 3 weeks of silence repeatedly asking for responses. But second off, it would be good to know what is the out-year plan. How do we make this sustainable? Because I don't want to become a county that takes out bonds to pay for operating costs. There's counties that do that in this state. It's not a good place to be. It's really expensive to be poor. And I don't have the confidence that that's the case for us long-term when I can't get the simple answer of how does the math work out in the next few years. It's a simple question I've asked repeatedly since our budget hearings, and nobody's been able to supply those numbers for me. So with that in mind, I will not be voting in support of this budget.
Anyone else? Ms. Dixon?
Mr. President,
Aye.
Mrs. Robert,
Aye.
Mrs. Imhoff, Mr. Giangiordano,
Aye.
Mr. Riley,
Aye.
Mrs. Bolsato,
Aye.
Mr. Bennett,
No?
There'd be 6 votes in the affirmative, 1 vote in the negative. Bill 25005 as amended is hereby approved. Bill 25-006, Pay and Classification Plan. May I have a motion?
Council President, I move to approve Bill 25-006.
Have a second?
Second. Second.
Gotcha, Mr. Riley. It's been moved and second to approve Bill 25006. Is there any discussion? Ms. Dixon?
Mr. President,
Aye.
Mrs. Robert,
Aye.
Mrs. Imhoff,
Aye.
Mr. Giangiordano,
Aye.
Mr. Riley,
Aye.
Mrs. Bolsato,
Aye.
Mr. Bennett,
Aye.
Being 7 votes in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, Bill 25006 is hereby approved. 12, enrollment of bills. Bill 25005 as amended and Bill 25006 is certified as a text finally passed. 8, introduction and consideration of resolutions. Resolution 00825, adoption of property tax rate. May I have a motion?
Council President, I move to approve Resolution 008-25.
Have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. Been moved and second to approve Resolution 00825. Is there any discussion? Mr. Bennett?
Similarly, I can't vote to support something that I haven't been explained why it's financially responsible for us to support. And for that reason, I will be voting no on adopting the property tax rate.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Any other discussion? Ms. Dixon?
Mr. President,
Aye.
Mrs. Robert,
Aye.
Mrs. Imhoff,
Aye.
Mr. Giangiordano,
Aye.
Mr. Riley,
Aye.
Mrs. Bolsato,
Aye.
Mr. Bennett,
No?
There being 6 votes in the affirmative, 1 negative, Resolution 00825 is hereby approved. Resolution 00925, Capital Improvement Program as amended. May I have a motion?
Council President, I move to approve Resolution 009-25 as amended.
Have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. Been moved and second to approve Resolution 00925 as amended. Is there any discussion? Ms. Dixon?
Mr. President,
Aye.
Mrs. Robert,
Aye.
Mrs. Imhoff,
Aye.
Mr. Giangiordano,
Aye.
Mr. Riley,
Aye.
Mrs. Bolsato,
Aye.
Mr. Bennett,
Aye.
Being 7 votes in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, Resolution 00925 as amended is hereby approved. Resolution 01025, road closure portion of Technology Drive. May I have a motion?
Council President, I move to approve Resolution 010-25.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Sottles. It's been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 01025. Is there any discussion? Ms. Dixon?
Mr. President?
Aye.
Mrs. Robert?
Aye.
Mrs. Imhoff?
Aye.
Mr. Giangiordano?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Bulsaddles?
Aye.
Mr. Bennett?
Aye.
Being 7 votes in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, Resolution 01025 is hereby approved. Resolution 01125, Economic Development Loan, 126th South Main Street, Bel Air LLC. May I have a motion?
Council President, I move to approve Resolution 011-25.
May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Riley. It's been moved and second to approve Resolution 01125. Mr. Giangiordano.
So I just want to reiterate that the Economic Development Team vetted them. Gil Kennedy's ahead of that, CEO of Harco Credit Union. So they've been a solid company, multiple locations. So I'm very confident in this loan, and I am going to support this. So I hope my other council people do as well. Thank you.
Anyone else? Ms. Dixon?
Mr. President?
Aye.
Mrs. Robert?
Aye.
Mrs. Imhoff?
Aye.
Mr. Giangiordano?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Bulsaddles?
Aye.
Mr. Bennett?
Aye.
There being 7 votes in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, Resolution 01125 is hereby approved. 13, introduction of bills, we have none. 14, unfinished business, we have none. 18, comments and input from attending citizens.
There's no one signed up, Mr. President.
Thank you. 16, business from council member. 17, I'm sorry. Mr. Bennett.
Hello, it's good to be with everyone this evening. I first want to congratulate everyone who graduated from Harford Leadership Academy in the class of 2025, including Ms. Boyle-Siles, Legislative Aide Tara, who's amazing and does so much. Also, Havre de Grace Council Member Matthew Ellis and their Director of Administration, Dr. Christopher Ricci, who also goes with the last name Kringle from time to time, who was also the class speaker for this year. So congratulations to all those. I know from my legislative aide Heather what a worthwhile experience that is, but also how much work that experience is. I attended Abingdon Fire Company's 100th anniversary celebration, which was rainy this Saturday morning, but it was just so life-giving to hear about the history of the fire company and the work that they've done. You know, going from buckets of water from neighbors' houses to a 40-gallon tank to, you know, reworking an oil tank so that they could bring more water to the scene. Just so much history and people from Abingdon who have changed how volunteer fire companies work across the state. So that was really great. I wanted to make sure people know that Abingdon's CAB meeting is coming up this Thursday at 6:30 p.m. and that's in the Abingdon Fire Company. So that would be Abingdon, Bell Camp, Perryman, Box Hill, that general area. And then next week on June 17th, the Health Department will be having a handgun vault giveaway. So those are totally free. You just have to register online, and it'll be at 5 p.m. on June 17th. They want to make sure people register that way. You know that there's one there for you to pick up. It would stink to wait in line and find out there's no more left. I'm sure everybody's experienced that with the new Switch that just came out. But, you know, so it's very important to sign up. But it's great to make sure we properly store our firearms so that we keep children and the like safe in our company. And then lastly, I just want to highlight a few Juneteenth events coming up in the next few weeks. The NAACP will be having its Juneteenth Freedom 5K on the 14th. And I know Ms. Robert will be there and has been working very hard to get that going this year. The Ward Y will be having its Juneteenth celebration on the 20th from 6 to 8 p.m. And that's always something that I look forward to and enjoy each year at the Y. And then Upper Bay Juneteenth Festival will be hosted at the Hosanna School on the 21st from 12 to 6 p.m. So, you know, I encourage everybody to partake in the celebrations around Juneteenth. There's a lot going on, and there's also just so much history to learn locally. So it's always fun to get in community, to celebrate, to learn. I've really enjoyed the past few years of Juneteenth events locally.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Ms. Sotos?
Thank you. I too want to congratulate the graduates from the 2025 Harford Leadership Academy, and a special shout out to my aide Tara. I don't know what I would do without her. Upcoming events, we will be attending a ribbon cutting for the Cultivate Barbershop located in the Blackstone Plaza of Aberdeen on Thursday, June 12th at 10 a.m. And on Friday, June 13th at 11:30 a.m., there's another ribbon cutting in Aberdeen for the grand opening of Portal Escape Room. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sotos. Mr. Riley?
Nothing tonight?
Thank you, Mr. Riley. Mr. Giangiordano?
Thank you, Council President. Attended the Adequate Public Facilities meeting last Wednesday, and then we did the grand opening of Olive Garden on Copper Street over in Bell Camp. So got to stay and have a little bit of food. It was pretty good. And then finally, tomorrow, along with my aide Joanne, will be behind the gate at the APG 250-year birthday party. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Imhoff?
Good evening. So I was able to attend the ARC Northern Chesapeake Region's 2025 annual meeting this past week, where they got to honor a bunch of their volunteers, board members, and some really remarkable people that they service. I was also able to attend the grand opening and ribbon cutting of the Olive Garden, and I know the community is really, really excited about that as well. On Friday, I was able to meet with Department of Public Works for a tour of the repairs being done to Annie's Playground. After the tour, I feel pretty confident that there isn't necessarily a structural concern, but there was a breakdown in a small percentage of the materials that was used during the renovations last year. And the manufacturer of the material and the county are working together to resolve the situation so that we can hopefully reopen all of Annie's Playground by the end of the month, fingers crossed. But it's also raining a lot, so we're trying to give them a little bit of bandwidth, but I know everyone's really eager to get that up and running. Along those lines, the Bear Legacy Trail, located off South Tollgate Road, is starting its long-awaited reopening is now underway with plans to welcome visitors, hopefully here in the next little bit. To stay informed on the Bear Legacy Trail, I encourage anyone to follow them on Facebook. They have been doing updates. And then this week, in addition to going to APG tomorrow for their 250th anniversary, the Abingdon-Emerton Community Advisory Board will be meeting this Thursday, June 12th at 6:30 at the Abingdon Fire Hall, and we encourage anyone who's interested to attend.
Thank you. Ms. Robert?
Thank you. So on Friday, June 6th, I got the pleasure of attending two special graduations. I attended the Future Link graduation and the Harford Academy graduation, and it was wonderful to see those youth be able to blossom throughout the school programs. As I said to everyone, they should be handing out a box of tissues for those graduations because it was very emotional. And the videos they showed, it was really good. And then Saturday, June 7th, I started the day with the Inter-County Outreach. They were launching a tour of their future home of the Paradise Project. It's going to be a great facility for the community. She has plans to offer services for anyone who wanted to retire and be on the property, to children with multiple programs from birth to whenever, pretty much. She was covering the gamut on that, and Council President said he was with me, and then we went to the Abingdon Fire Company for the 100th anniversary celebration as well. And to echo Mr. Bennett, it was interesting to hear the history behind 1925, what was happening to present. So we've really come a long way with saving people and faster service for doing that as well. I too am going to the APG tour tomorrow. And yes, please, we are for the Freedom 5K Festival and Run on Saturday, June 14th. It will be at the Edgeley Grove Park Mom Pa Trail from 8 to 11. And not only are we running and walking, but at the end we will have Kona Ice and Divergent Donuts and vendors and face painting. And I welcome everyone to come. We try to make it very health oriented, so the vendors are all there to give information out. And then on Saturday as well is Riverside Elementary School. There is our next community cleanup of bulk trash disposal from 8:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. Anyone can go to the location and drop off any bulk trash.
Thank you, Ms. Robert. You had me at Divergent Donuts. So 16 business from the president. As you already heard from my colleagues, we continue to be all over the county at every event that we can possibly be at. You heard about the Olive Garden ribbon cutting, the Abington Fire Company's 100th anniversary. It was really, I think, enlightening to hear first hand from Howard McComas, who is the oldest living Abington firefighter, and he gave a lot of history there with the company. And you know, whether it be Abington or Norrisville or Darlington or whoever, we appreciate all that the service that they provide the citizens all across this county to provide great public safety for us. So, but also I had an opportunity to attend a Greater Harford Luncheon where we could hear from Tom Sadowski speak and present on his work with Medco, how they're assisting businesses all across the state of Maryland, and especially the new racing facility coming into Pimlico. And then later on, the Greater Bel Air event, we went there for that, and the grand reopening of the Home 2 Suites in Aberdeen, the Harford Leadership Academy, as you heard earlier, inter-county outreach, as Ms. Roberts said, the Shar Hope Surfing Recovery Corral event, extremely well attended. I know they raised some good money there for that project. I'm going to say, just off the top of my head, it had to be 400 people there. It was a big event. And then sadly, I have to enlighten everyone and let them know that we lost another pillar of our community. Madison Mitchell Jr. Passed away early this morning. He was a 34-year employee at Harford County government from 1965 to 1999. He played a major role in establishing the DILP department and helped Harford County move into charter government. He was a member of the Masonic Lodge in Havre de Grace, the Susquehannock Lodge, for 60 years. He's a Harford Living Treasure, an Army veteran, community volunteer. He worked at the City of Havre de Grace's Visitor Center for years. He managed St. John's Towers in Havre de Grace for years. He worked on the Skipjack Martha Lewis project for a lot of years. He was the president of the R. Madison Mitchell Endowment Trust for 37 years. His father set this trust up before he passed to help raise funds to acquire and present artifacts at the Havre de Grace Decoy Museum. He passed away at the age of 91, and I would ask everyone to please keep the Mitchell family, the Hyde family, and the Shank family in your thoughts and prayers. And then tomorrow, I'd like to wish my grandson Jake a happy 13th birthday. For those of you that may not have an opportunity to have met him, he is an amazing young man, and happy to still have him here. So happy birthday, buddy. And with that, we'll adjourn this meeting.